All hits all the time. Start 98.3, 24 minutes now in front of 8 o'clock at 7:36. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Well, my mother always said, if you're on time, you're late, and Bob Schaller has come early.
Good morning. He's on time.
We were glad to have him on a little bit early today. So Bob Schaller, running for candidate for St. Mary's County Commissioner. Mm-hmm. And Bob, I ask everybody when they come in here, are you a glutton for punishment? Why choose to run for public office?
Well, I choose to run because in the end you want to serve. I want to serve. Mm-hmm. That's mainly, people have passion to run. Hats off to everybody, but you must have compassion to serve. Well, and that's why I'm doing this.
One of the things that I've asked, or at least trying to ask all the politicians who come in, we have a board now.
Yes.
What is it that they're doing or not doing that prompted you to run?
Well, they're doing the job that county commissioners do, which is the day-to-day business of moving ordinances and policy through. Mm-hmm. Commissioners are responsible for two things directly because we're the county commissioner form, the simplest form of government, most authorities delegated by the state. Mm-hmm. But county commissioners do two things. They're very important. One is they must pass an annual budget. It takes all year to do that.
Right.
Second, they hire and fire contract employees.
Okay.
That's it. They do many things in the process of carrying out state delegated authority, but those are the two things that they do on their own.
Okay, if we're going to focus on those two things, is there something that you feel that they could do better? What would you bring to the party?
Were you a contract employee with St. Mary's County?
I was a contract employee.
And you decided you were with Economic and Community Development. You decided to resign 2008?
2012.
2012. You decided to resign, but you had been with them since 2007.
Right. 5 years, almost 5 years, and I resigned my post. That's a long story, but the bottom line is that I left that position better than when I found it, and I've continued to do the work of economic and community development in the capacity outside of work and in my new capacity, and I will continue to do that.
One of the things, speaking of economic development, that's something that a lot of folks who have come through here, it's something that's, well, it's important to everybody, but it's something that I really do focus on.
Sure.
I think, and this is no way as to say anything negative about the base, but as somebody who lives in the community, clearly the base is our economic engine.
Absolutely.
But there is a downside to that.
All the eggs are in that one basket.
Right. So as somebody who has worked in economic development, how would you propose in a position of county commissioners that we build business in this area?
Well, economic and community development is all day, every day activity. We're blessed to have a great local employer that draws 22,000 people there every day. Mm-hmm. It represents almost 1 out of 2 folks in the workforce, if you count direct and indirect, and probably 80% of all work if you look at like this station and others that are affected by it.
Right, sure.
We're growing more and more dependent every day, which is a good thing, but being a company town, I don't know if you've ever lived in a company town.
Well, I haven't lived in it, but I'm familiar with
Okay, so that's what we've effectively become, a company town. So we are at the disposal of the company, if you will. So it's our responsibility in the community to make sure that we're diversified. And there's great consensus to diversify the economy. But it's one thing to say, it's another to do.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did as the Director of Economic and Community Development. Continue to do, will continue to do. This is a long-term process to pivot this economy away from, not away from, but in addition to what we do. Just one more point.
Sure.
Think about tobacco. For centuries, we did tobacco all day, every day, and we have since pivoted against that. How well have we transitioned in diversifying our tobacco crop to something else? Not so much, but we're heading that way. You're talking generations.
Sure.
Maybe not generations here, but a decade to do that. But it takes deliberate action on the part of leadership. The county commissioners are at the center of that leadership. There's other community members, school system, there's the business community, certainly the broader community, but the commissioners really set the tone for that to happen.
Explain community development to me. How does community development work? You develop a community. Do you make it how do you make a community better?
Communities are defined by who they are. So we are a community. We're Southern Maryland. We're St. Mary's County. Closer in, the formal process we have a Community Development Corporation. It's a nonprofit that was set up 30 years ago to assist in advancing, let's say, those that are underserved. Okay, that's one aspect of it.
Who's underserved in St. Mary's County?
Well, originally the Community Development Corporation was set up to take housing projects prior to having a housing authority, or prior to it having full authority and funding means, to help find mechanisms to make those things go forward. And then it got into the commercial business. It did some other things. But the bottom line, Heather, is that take a community like Lexington Park.
Right.
All right. It's evolved as first a pop-up, if you will, a community to support the base when it was mostly military, when it needed to be fed. And then as the base has transitioned from being an enlisted location where people live, work, and play, it's now effectively an office park. So people don't live there. The military population on base today is the smallest it's ever been in its entire history. So people don't live on base, by and large. They live outside. So Lexington Park no longer serves the purpose it did when it was created. So it's out of evolution changed its purpose. So to take what's there and make it as viable as possible, you need help. That's what community development is.
We're talking with Bob Schaller, who is running for County Commissioner, St. Mary's County. One of the things I've heard from businesses, people who have businesses here, who want to start businesses here, and that's fantastic. They say, listen, we would love to do it. Here's the two big hurdles we run into. Too much government bureaucracy.
Regulation.
I mean, there's regulations. You could just choke a horse, and every year there's somebody writing a new one.
Right.
And the tax base is so oppressive and so complicated that it crushes the entrepreneurial spirit.
Right.
What's your take
That's
on that?
Maryland in general.
Yeah.
Maryland is not, as everybody knows, not a business-friendly state. Leadership at the state level has been, trying to change that around, trying to up our. But here's the other part of that. We are a company town writ large. Who's our largest employer in the state of Maryland?
Government.
Exactly. So what's happening with government now? When it's running good, everybody's fine. We were at the
sequestration, cutbacks, cuts left and right.
But we have become dependent as a state, as a region, on the federal government.
Well, here's an interesting byproduct of that. Just this week, and again, I'm mixing apples and oranges here, but just this week it was announced that Washington, D.C. is the most expensive city in the United States to live in. Even when you're talking in cost of living, they said affordable housing. This is beautiful. Affordable housing starting at $600,000.
Right.
So even when you compare it with Manhattan, now we have a city.
We're bumping the top.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We're number one. As far as not a great number one, but expense.
No, but just to keep it in context, having a major employer called the federal government, which has high incomes, we are also, Maryland has the highest median income of any state in the union, I think 4 years running. We also have the most educated state in the union for 5 years running, the highest percentage of PhDs. So, I mean, these are all corollaries, and all that pulls the income level up. And it does translate into, if you're a startup, if you're an individual business owner, it makes it harder and harder because we serve basically a salaried employer.
Yeah.
That's who we serve. So, so here in St. Mary's, it's even more, not the regulatory part as much as our more dependency on a federal employer. So locally, what do you have to do? We have to sit where we're sitting here. This is a small business. We have to think about and deliberately, how do you allow folks like you, Somar Communications, folks that up and down this road, to give them incentives. So where we can locally, our regulations in the permitting process, in zoning, in where we place priority, we have to be more sensitive at that commissioner's table to the challenges that local businesses have. We can control that.
Let's talk too about, on your card here that you handed me, fair education funding.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Fair education. What's fair to one person
exactly.
is unfair and outrageous to another person.
So in 4-point font, you can barely get 3 words. So what I mean, and
Right.
it's a fair question, no pun intended.
It's a very small card.
Number one priority right now facing the commissioners, facing the community, is education funding. Number one, going away. You've watched the last 2 years in particular, the budget process, sort of the wheels come off, especially this last one. It's no one's fault. It's just,
no one's fault? You're not putting blame anywhere,
No.
Bob?
It's a very complex process. Understand that the school budget this year, $194 million, is approaching and will eclipse the county budget. Next year, the county budget's $200 million. The county budget funds about 40% of the school budget. It's the remaining 60% comes from the state and the federal government. By this time next year, the school budget will be larger than the county budget. Which is
police, which is roads, which is building, capital improvements, things like that.
So the point is that the budget is the most important thing, and we are facing next year's budget request to be. I just met with the acting superintendent yesterday to be the largest request in recent times, if ever. And
how big are we talking?
Well, I don't know, but the point is we have a new school coming online. The Captain Francis Duke School is coming online. It's going to need, yes, that's in the capital improvement budget, but we're talking $3 million plus to operate that thing in recurring costs
every year.
And we are now behind 2 years in a row, no step. And a third coming up. They want to correct for that. It's a teacher-friendly budget. The way we've gotten these budgets done the last 3 years, frankly, are on the backs of teachers and paras and folks in the classroom. They want to correct that. So that's not cheap.
Is that something you support?
Are you
Absolutely.
a teacher? You're a teacher-friendly. You would be
I
a teacher-friendly.
I am a teacher by trade.
You'd be a teacher-friendly commissioner.
However, I'm also a father of 7. So you can only do what you can do with what you have.
Told you he was a glutton for punishment.
Well, one last thing that is the challenge that, again, you can't solve these overnight. Our fund balance in the school system's gone from $12 million 4 years ago to $500,000. It's effectively gone. So if there were another fire in another middle school, we could not do what we did last year. And now with teachers' pensions, OPEB, all these state mandates coming down,
right.
We have a huge challenge in front of us for the next board. It's not just next year, for the next board to recorrect this and keep the standards high. I mean, that's what everybody wants, but not if we keep doing what we're doing, teachers are going to leave at a higher rate than they have been.
Let me ask you this, though. We had John Alonzo Gaskin on the air with us, and we talked a little bit about budgets and things like that. When you give, as St. Mary's County Commissioners, when the budget is made and the budget is given to the school board, you're done. You're out. You don't have another say in it.
Right.
Correct?
That's right.
Do you think that should change? Do you think the commissioners, since it is the money of the people, do you think that there should... So what happened last winter, doesn't happen again?
Heather, let me tell you that what commissioners do is pass a budget and they allocate. I mean, that's basically what they do. They say, okay, we're going to allocate whatever the number is, $94 million to the school system.
Right.
They do not micromanage. However, the most important, I told you what the commissioners do officially, 2 things, which is the budget and contract employee hiring and recruitment. The third thing they do, which is the most effective, is they have a bully pulpit. They serve as community leaders, just like you're doing, talking to these microphones. And that influence is priceless.
We're bullies. Absolutely.
No.
We've been called worse.
This influence is priceless over what's important in the community.
Right.
How do you get your message heard? They listen to you. That internalizes, and then they take that right to the table. So they can say, as they have, and some more than others, education is important, certainly, but here's what I feel. Here's what the community says we should do. We should not do this on the backs of teachers, for example. We should not do this. We should do this. They can't say, I want you to do this. This is part of the budget. But they can certainly make and use that position as leverage, and I will.
All right. Well, listen, his name is Bob Schaller. He's running for County Commissioner, St. Mary's County. If you like what you hear, remember his name when you go in there and you pull a little curtain, flip a little tab, whatever it is you do. keep it in mind.
Hey, Bob, before we leave,
Sure.
is there anything that you want people to know about you? Somebody's like, Bob Schaller, never heard of him. Now, you've probably seen the signs out. You have signs all over the place. But is there something that you want to get across before we let you go to,
Heather
the
and
listeners?
T-Bone, I would like to say one thing. I want to be your county commissioner. One, I want to serve. I have compassion to serve. Most important right now, which I would ask all of you to do, listeners, you too as well, is vote. I can't say that more simply. Please vote.
Yeah.
I don't care if you vote for me, but if you don't vote, I'm not going to get your vote. We are facing perhaps the lowest voter turnout in recent times come November 4th. And we need people to vote.
And is it because it's just...
well, I think it's frustration.
It's frustration,
you know what
apathy.
the fastest growing party affiliation is in this county?
Independent.
Yes, unaffiliated.
I said it
because
the other day.
They are
I said
frustrated.
I'm sick to death. It doesn't matter.
Democrats and Republicans, we share the blame for being partisan at the national level, which is only 60 miles away, and it bleeds to us very quickly. And so when I go out, and I'm a Democrat, conservative, Catholic Democrat, have been, will always be. And when I'm branded as a Democrat with many things I won't repeat here.
Oh, T brands me all the time because I'm a Democrat.
It's because where we live. But our values, our simple values of working class folks are the same.
Yes.
And I think if you settled, and the answer is in the middle. The answer is always in the middle. But now, because of media, because of many things, people run to their ends, and then they shut the door and they say, I got mine. I'm not talking to you. And that's what frustrates people.
Can't get anything done.
Right.
Thank you,
All right.
Bob. Good luck
Thank
to
you,
you on
guys.
November
Appreciate it.
4th. I
Yep.
appreciate that.
All right, 8 minutes in front of 8 o'clock. Let me get a check of traffic, see what's happening on the roads.